How big can I get my heart to be?
Thought Media Network proudly presents
How much love can I get flowing out of me?
The Real Talk Sisters. Deep, unfiltered, soulful conversations with Reverend Dr. Pjae Stanley, Reverend Kim Andrews, and Reverend Melinda Wood Allen.
How big can I get my heart to be?
Join us for Real Talk on Real Issues. Tuesdays, 2 p.m. Central, 1 o'clock Mountain. And now, let's join the Real Talk Sisters.
How big can I get my heart to be?
Hey, I'm ready.
Hey,
for
everybody.
some talk. Are y'all?
So what? You ready to talk?
For some real talk.
I'm definitely ready for some real talk. Real talk.
And
Around
some
you guys.
sisters.
And some sisters. And some
Yes.
sisters.
Yes. Yes.
So glad to be here today. I'm Reverend Melinda Wood Allen from the Church of One Love in Dallas, Texas. Glad to be here with my sisters for some today. It's a good day. I'm having a good day. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. My name is Reverend Dr. Pjae Stanley, and I'm the spiritual leader for Harmony Spiritual Center in Fort Worth. And again, so glad to be here with my sisters.
Yeah. It's always a good thing, isn't it?
It is.
I am Kim Andrews, spiritual leader at Unity Saxe in Saxe, Texas. And it is a good day, isn't it?
It really is. It's always a good day when we get together. We never run out of things to share with each other. Never.
Don't.
I was talking with I was talking with someone who yesterday I went to lunch with this lady. She knows all three of us, and she asked, how do we get together? How do we do that? And I was just I know that I asked for you. I asked for Spirit when I was taking on this ministry. I asked for you, but I think we got together when we were doing the DFW New Thought Alliance, and we ended up kind of being the only three on the call.
Yeah, well, you organized it, and several of us showed up, and we were doing monthly meetings. And then what we found out was that several months we would be the only ones that showed up. And then we were like, well, why are we trying to coordinate schedules with a whole bunch of people who aren't showing up when we could just call each other and say, hey, are you free? Let's get together.
Okay, so I was thinking that's how we ended up doing this. Yeah, okay. It was wonderful. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I think one time after a meeting where it was only the three of us, we went, let's go get some food. And we just sat around and talked for hours and hours and hours.
Yes. I've been coming back ever since. So that was meant to be. We the three that are supposed to be together that I asked Spirit for. And it has just been going beautifully. It's just never been any problems or issues. We've always been here for each other. It just falls into place. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It really does. Yeah.
So
thank you.
Yeah, it's good. Today we are continuing our discussions about walking with God in our lives. And Pjae told her story last week. Thank you, Pjae.
Yeah.
Gave me a lot of food for thought.
Yes.
And I still think about you making a covenant with God. And such a strong word.
It is.
A covenant. I'm just not going to commit, but I've made a covenant with God, and I'm going to show up. I'm going to show up, and to take that very seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was thinking. Good.
I think it says a lot about who you are, and I do know you to be a woman of your word, and you are too, Melinda. It's the thing I love about one of the many things I love about the two of you. And that you are truly committed to your walk and walking in integrity with that, and that being integral to who you are personally as well as ministers.
Yeah, you can't do one without the other.
I don't think we can. I mean, some people seem to be able to think that they can, and that's fine. I mean, there's no judgment here. The whole conversation came about because I was talking with several people who do walk with Spirit in a very different way, but are very spiritual, and really feel committed. And so we just kind of got to talking about how did that come about? Why is that so important? what do we do to keep it going? What's the benefit of it? What happened when you don't? All those questions. And I thought I'd love to, just to talk to all of, to hear to even understand for myself, why am I here? Why did I do a covenant? And just how you two walk with spirit, and why it's important to you, and what we do to make sure to maintain that, and why do we want to maintain all these questions. I just thought it was it's a good topic to talk about, and not make assumptions about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ask my congregation on a regular basis to ask themselves, who is your God now? Because
today,
your relationship with God last year, or when you were 12, or even this morning,
Exactly.
might be different from what it is now.
Exactly.
You can't live on an old understanding of God. You have to keep living with what's alive in you at the moment, and keeping it alive is a lot of what we're talking about. What we do in practice in order to keep that relationship alive.
Yeah.
How important it is to just keep checking back in and go, who is God to me now?
Exactly. Because hopefully our understanding of ourselves, and then our relationship and what we're looking for from God, evolves.
Yeah.
It keeps evolving. What we're willing to accept, because there's a lot of growing for ourselves, that we grow through the relationship with spirit. And so we have to acknowledge that growth. And so now my understanding and what I'm asking for from you is greater, is more, it's greater. It's a bigger expectation. And so, I have to walk in that space, in a different space. For me, it might not be a bigger space, but for me, it's a bigger expectation of myself and what I feel that spirit can do, is willing to do. So that keeps growing, that understanding, and I think that for us as leaders, we have a congregation that it's imperative that we keep growing and growing our understanding, so that we can, because I think that that's part of what the congregation is seeing and needing from us, to walk the walk.
Yes.
To walk the
walk. How
walk.
can I ask anyone else to ask a question that I'm not answering?
Hello?
Or to walk a walk that I'm not willing
Exactly.
to walk? I can't. In integrity, I can't. And I can't live with myself if I'm not in integrity. So
Exactly. I think you're right. That's definitely a big part of it, is being walking in integrity with yourself and with God. Yeah. Sure.
And so Kim was going to talk today. Yeah. She's going to be out of town next week when I tell my story, but Kim was going to talk today about her personal walk with spirit is, and what that means, and how that is couched in her understanding. And I'm fascinated to hear.
Yes. So, I thought about this even when Pjae first suggested this topic. I started thinking about that. And so I remember, to being a very, very young girl, always having a certain affinity for God and for sacredness, sacred space, sacred time. I was raised in Catholicism, so it gave me an appreciation for ritual. I loved the incense, the bells. So for me, sacred space is extra sensory. It's like a full experience for me, and it's always been an experience. And it's interesting, I even had an affinity for kneeling in prayer. There's something about kneeling in prayer that is different than standing or sitting in prayer for me. And I, not often, but there are times when I have found myself kneeling. Other times I find myself falling to my knees and I end up in prayer, or face down on the floor.
Understand that. Yes.
Yeah.
Prostrate on the floor. Yeah.
Yes. And, in total surrender, both spiritually and physically. But I always, and that might have come from my upbringing in Catholicism, this kneeling, and hearing even people going from sitting in the pews to kneeling, and you would hear the kneelers kind of hit the floor or graze the floor as people are kneeling, and that people young and old kneeled in prayer. I'm still struck by that on the occasion that I go to a Catholic Mass. And so there seems to be a thread for me from my early life to seek out space like that. And because I was such a loner and very independent from a young age, and some of that was because of the dysfunction in my house, I retreated into myself and into books, and always loved quiet time and silence. And I always had a strong intuitive sense, because as I was quiet and, escaping the family crazy sometimes, I would just be in a space and just feel protected.
Yes.
And knowing that there was something there, but not knowing what the something was.
Yes.
And that I'm so safe here. There's some days I don't want to come out, and I'm okay just being here. But yeah, school has to happen. You got to come down, wash the dishes, do your chores and all that other stuff. But I often retreated to the quiet and to myself, and could be there for hours by myself and be okay. So any kind of punishment I got did not involve Kim, go to your room, because that was happy space for me. It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Briar patch.
And yes.
Yes, please.
Send her to clean baseboards with a toothbrush. She'll enjoy that. Yeah, did that. Have done that. So in my, teens, I think I kept some of that. And when I went to college, of course, I was not in an area where I didn't have a car, so it's not like I could drive to church and things like that. And so I think I got away from some of that in my college years. But in my 20s, when I was out on my own, I found a Catholic church that I went to. Again, I loved being there. It felt like home again. The wood, the stained glass, the ritual of the Mass, the bells ringing, all of that just felt like home to me. And it wasn't until in my 30s when I just really started to pay attention to what am I hearing in these prayers, and does that truly resonate with me now? So like we were just talking about before we came on the air, my understanding of God was changing somehow.
Yes.
And so I would listen to prayers during Mass and go, I don't know that I believe that now.
Right.
Or, gee, that's an odd way to say something. Why do I don't know that I'm comfortable with that now, and being curious about why this wasn't working anymore. And if that's not working, what is?
Right.
And because I needed something to work with. And so I left Catholicism probably in my mid 30s, primarily because my favorite priests left our church. And they never tell you where they go. And when I tried to hang in there with who was left, but I remember vividly one New Year's Eve going to Mass because I really wanted to be there. I wanted to start my year out in a prayerful, contemplative energy. So I went to church excited about being there New Year's Eve, feeling at home. I'm in the pew just enjoying what's happening. And, they got flowers, the poinsettias are still out. It was just gorgeous. And the priest started Mass saying, I know you got other things to do, so we're just going to, get this done, get her done, and I'm going to let you guys go.
Oh, no. Oh.
Done.
Oops.
And I thought, yeah, we did get her done because I am never coming back.
Oh, man.
I thought, it's one thing if you're just going to go through the Mass in a particular way.
Sure.
Because that's what you want to do. But to come in and say, I know you don't really want to be here, so let's just, and he really did. He zoomed through all the prayers. Come on, communion. Let's move it up. What are we doing here?
And can you say projection? Because it was obviously him that didn't want to be.
It needed to be somewhere. Yes.
Yeah, he needed to be somewhere.
Clearly. And speaking for everyone. Love it.
I thought, okay, so I'm out the door. And I really started an earnest search, and started to make my own new walk with God, and it was leading me towards new thought. I had no frame of reference for new thought or unity principles or anything like that, but I was starting to meditate and deal with that, and a new way of being in the silence and really listening, and finding because I had lost my I guess affinity for silence for a while. My world became noisy as a young woman. A lot of that was just struggling to figure out life on my own.
Yeah.
And bumping my head a lot, making a lot of mistakes. And then I somehow missed that and came back. And that's what helped me straighten my life out, was being able to be in the silence and listen and connect again with that intuitive self, that intuitive sense that I always knew. And it was starting to come back, and I was starting to pay attention to the red flags in my life and say, oh, maybe I'll try this out. Or, I know that's a red flag. That doesn't make any sense to me, so I'd go do it anyway, ignore the red flag. And go, oh,
like you do.
I was right.
like we do.
Yeah, that doesn't feel good. Let's go do it. Let's try it out.
Wow, really bumped my head this time. Oh, maybe I'll listen for that red flag next time.
And actually follow.
And actually heed what I was told.
Kim, you said your relationship with the silence changes. You started meditating in a particular way. What led you there?
Good question.
I was mentally exhausted, emotionally exhausted. And I think I just ended up, I was reading books about self-help, and a lot of them mentioned meditation and the quiet. And I thought to myself, I used to love the quiet. And man, is the world noisy, and man, am I tired. I mean, I remember days where I just thought there's too much happening here and I can't figure it out because there's too much. Too much. I don't know what to pay attention to, and everything I paid attention to was outside of me. And every self-help book, it seemed like I picked up in the 80s, said something about listening to what's inside of you, paying attention to your gut, that there's this intuition that we have that serves us, serves our highest and best. And I thought, wow, I lost that. I had that at one time. I used to pay attention to that. How about if I get back to that? But man, was it tricky. The silence was, when you're used to a lot of stuff up here and that's how you live, the silence is almost very noisy.
Yeah.
And I had to learn how to teach my mind to settle down and listen, and not try to, all right, I heard that. Okay, let me just, it's too much quiet. Let me go, because I was uncomfortable. Because you get in. I was in a cycle of chaos, and chaos is what I knew. So I had to break the chaos, and that was very uncomfortable. The devil,
Correct.
No.
Correct. Yeah.
So those first meditative sessions were excruciating. 5 minutes was like 5 hours. But I was, because I'm also a fighter, and I figure if I'm going to go down, I'm going down swinging. So I'm going to duke it out with meditation. I am not going to let 5 minutes of silence break me. I'm coming back. And then, so I would do 5 minutes, and I did 10, and then suddenly 30 minutes. And I thought, man, I am liking this. I forgot how nice this was, that I have a place I can retreat to from the world and find myself and figure out who Kim is and what am I looking for, what do I want, what do I need, and where's the God that I knew before, and now I need to find something new, because I had to leave that place because nothing was speaking to me, and it's almost like I was pushed out the door.
It's kind of scary. It's kind of scary, when you're just pushed out, and you're like, well, what happened? I had that. Why don't I have it now? And how do I get it back?
And now what? And I think I went to every non-denominational church, every church that was possible. Every Sunday I was switching off, trying to find something. And if it didn't resonate, I'd leave and go find something else, playing A, B, C, D, E. And I figured I'd land on it. And then it was a Unity church that was 15 minutes away from me. It was 2002, so it took some years.
Yeah.
But by that time, I was meditating and figuring a couple of things out and starting to trust myself, trust that inner voice, and that became the walk for then. And then doors just opened.
Yeah. But when you hear it, you know it. When you hear it, it resonates. You absolutely know you're in the right place. This is I don't know, I'm not gonna end here, but I know this is the start. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it, whatever this is right now. And then all the other doors start opening. But yeah, so I think that's the hope. That's the hope. Is that because you're searching, you were actively looking for something that you'd had before, and you'd lost, and you're just not unwilling to say, I'm not going to have it again. And so on a search, I just think that's an important point, is that just because you had it, it's gone, whatever, doesn't mean it's gone forever. And the moment you say, I want this, the search begins, and it has to end up where you need to be. Yeah. If you don't give it up.
So it's time for us to take a little break.
Let's take a break and then I'll
start talk about that.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, thank you. We're back.
We're back with more.
We're just talking about in this new way.
Yeah. It's interesting. It just occurred to me, PJ, as you were talking, it was that time that taught me that for me, there's a certain feeling of affirmation that I have when something true and right has landed for me.
Right.
And that same feeling continues to that day. So that taught me that when I have this overwhelming feeling of peace, like, here it is.
Yes.
Then I know that what I just heard, what I just felt is where I need to be, or this is the truth for me in this moment. And I use that same feeling today. And I often have, people in my community ask me, how do you know? How do you know? How do you know? And I said, well, this is how I know. I don't know how you will know.
Yes.
You have to be in it long enough and be open enough to discover that for yourself and for your own walk with God. And your feeling of affirmation may be totally different than mine.
Yes.
Pay attention.
So I know it, even I can be in the midst of chaos, but when I get that feeling, I go, yep, that's it. And I don't have to, and everything else stops for me.
Yep. Because that's the direction. You know where to go.
I don't need anybody to affirm it for me.
Nope.
I don't need outside validation. I don't need to go any further. And I stick with that until I get another feeling of affirmation. And if something changes, then I change.
Correct.
So I always go with, the other question I get is, how do you know when to make a move? Well, I don't move until spirit inspires me to move.
Until it's clear.
Until it's clear. And so if I don't hear anything, I don't move.
I don't move. It's not clear. Correct.
So there are times when I'm impatient because I think, I think it's time to move, time to move. This thing up here.
Yes, it's saying that.
Shouldn't we be moving? Shouldn't we? Why are we sitting here? And then I'll get quiet again and it'll say, because I have no clear direction to move.
Correct.
So just be still. Be still. Be here. Roll with what's happening, even though you may not like what's happening. Because it's either good for me or it's good.
Yeah. So I think that whole That whole sitting in the silence and getting still is showing you it's practice. That's what it is. It's when Spirit speaks and talks to you, it's so clear, and there's no question. No one can talk you out of it, because they're not we don't hear it the same way. Which is back to your thing about when people say, well, how do you know? Well, I know how I know. You have to ask Spirit to make sure, and you can just say it as clearly as that. Spirit, make me know for sure. It doesn't have to be a big old deal. You can just say those words. Spirit, let me know it's you. Just speak it clearly so there's no doubt in my mind. That's a prayer that will be answered. So we don't need to make it difficult. This is why I want to talk about this. How do we walk with God and stuff? Because there's so many ways in which we can, in which we do hear and listen. And so to hear all of the different ways that we do it, I think will share with people there's no one way. You get to decide whatever works for you. You get to decide that. You get to decide that you want it. You get to decide how it looks for you. You can decide all of those things.
It's interesting. Recently, I've had to make a decision that kind of goes against the grain.
Yeah.
And, the first time I was in a situation, I started to feel very uncomfortable. I thought, oh, am I just fighting, or am I starting to get a signal that something is true and right for me? Or am I just afraid of this new thing? What is it? What is it? What is it? And so I just stayed in contemplation about it, had to go back a second time. Second time, I'm feeling it very strong again, that what I'm thinking is true and right for me. What I'm hearing, it's coming up again, and I'm hearing it's true and right, and I'm still uncomfortable. So I'm going, oh.
Let that not be it.
Yes, and there are times I get so uncomfortable. I'm like, oh, Spirit, you are pushing me someplace. And because I trust, I go, I hear you. And man, are you asking for it? You're asking for it right now. I mean, you're making me go there, and I'm uncomfortable. So I had a third time to go back, and it just is same message.
Yeah, never changes. It doesn't change. You know that. I mean, the truth, it doesn't change for you. You want it to change because you want to be more comfortable.
And I kept saying, is it my fear? Is it my fear? Is it my fear? Is it my fear? And I said, well, I'm uncomfortable. I'm not afraid, but I am uncomfortable, and I probably will be uncomfortable. And I keep hearing it the way I'm hearing it. So, after this third time, I said, all right,
fine. Fine. Yeah. Fine.
And I've had to and say, yes, I'll walk this, and I need to feel you. Oh.
Yes. I love it.
I need to know you're here. I need to know, because I am. This is new territory.
Yes.
And it has to do with my integrity, my walk of integrity about what I say I believe. Do I truly believe what I say? And if so, then I have to walk it.
Exactly.
So I'm in one of those moments where, and so that automatically, like we were talking about earlier, that's tied to my integrity as a minister.
It is.
I can't be in this work and in integrity if I decide that I can't walk with Spirit in this.
Exactly. And then when you hear your congregation members coming back to you and saying, I did exactly what you said. Wait a minute, hang on, what? And it worked. Oh, good. Yeah, and it has to be something that works for you, because they're going to be trusting you, and they're going to try it. When they're looking to walk with Spirit, they're going to talk and repeat your words back to you. And when they do that, I pray to God, okay, Spirit, whatever it is that they're talking about, hopefully I was speaking for you, because I don't know what they're talking about, but I'm going to trust that they have the same relationship that I can have with you. I'm going to trust that.
Yes, because I don't ever want to hear myself answering somebody. Well, what had happened was that we, Spirit came, and I was asked to do, and so
What had happened was.
Yeah, what? Yeah, so yeah. Oh, someone's calling me. I gotta go. Yeah.
I'll get back to you. Yeah.
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 But
Yeah.
probably not. Don't call me. I'll call you.
I'll
And
call you. Don't worry about it. I'll
yeah,
call
don't
you.
worry about it.
But I mean, has that not happened to each and every one of you, where your congregants come to you and say, "Oh, Melissa, oh, Melinda, oh, Kim, I did what you said."
Come
Well,
again. What did I say?
funny.
Yeah.
What's funny is when they repeat back to you what you said and you know you never said it,
You never said it.
but that's what
Never
they
said.
heard.
That's what they heard. People
Mhm.
hear what they need to hear.
So you
Right.
trust
So
spirit.
exactly. So you can let go.
I'm
That's
so
why I
glad
can do it.
you heard that and that it worked for you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've been
So
in those
happy.
situations. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
You
love
go,
it.
"Oh, did I say that?"
Those aren't words I would ever use. I know I didn't say it. I would never speak that way. I know I didn't say it,
That way.
but I know you heard it. I know you heard it. So
Yeah.
good.
So
And
trust
that's how we know.
what you
Trust
heard.
it. Yes. So it's not just for us. The walk isn't just about us. You know,
No,
as spiritual leaders,
nothing
the
we do.
walk we're doing. I'm sorry.
I said nothing we do is just about us.
Nothing.
And even if we weren't, I mean, especially since we stand up in front of people and have the title and
Yes.
call ourselves spiritual leaders, but
And
really
speak the words.
is
Yes.
every one of us is not just here for us. Every one
No.
of us is affecting everyone else. And
Everybody.
when you realize that, when you know that, then you
Yes.
can't just
Yeah.
make harmful decisions
You
or
can't.
back off of helpful decisions and
Mhm.
live with yourself
You can't.
and go, that's
You
okay.
really can't. Yeah.
It's like, I know it. I get it. I get that it's hard to do. I get that's not what the world wants. I get that I'll be criticized for it. But if I'm gonna say this is, if I believe this is true, then that's the way I have to act, whether I'm
Exactly.
going to get approval
Or
for
not.
it or not.
Right. Doesn't matter. This is how it has to be. This is what I believe. This is what Spirit has shared with me. I'm going to behave in that way. And then you can count on the fact that I'm talking from my spirit, from my experience.
Mhm.
And you'll have yours. You'll have yours. And we know this. We know it from our hearts. We know it. Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. It's really important to know what those moments are, and so that we know that we can trust what we hear and know that it's
Yes.
right in any situation, even in the ones where we're saying, "Are you sure?" Because I'm just kind of,
I'm
yeah,
not really sure. I'm
I
just
don't know that I would choose this. So, and which is entirely why I'm probably being led in that direction. And it is expanding my understanding of God
It
and
is.
my relationship with God
It is. It
and
is.
what that means to my life. And so part of me is thinking, it's been like a really holy moment where I think, wow, this is God is in everything
Everything.
and in me
Mm.
and it always has been this way, but I am now understanding that this God is in and as me and throughout me and protecting me in a huge way,
Yes.
huge way. And
Yes.
so I couldn't have said that before this experience. I
Wow.
mean, it did, and it was good, and it was palpable, and it has been good. But now spiritual principle is like I'm blowing the ceiling off of that. And
Yes.
that's the thing about principle. It works in all situations.
Exactly.
There's no, yeah, but this is because the world says it is.
Right.
If it's principle, and if
It's
I believe
principle.
it, I say I believe it, then I can walk it in this like I walked in everything else.
Exactly correct. Exactly. And you can stand in it for other people as they're understanding principle and having principle work for them. You can stand with them and know that you are an individualized expression. God is being expressed through you. I don't have to be fearful about the outcome, because
Mhm.
whatever the outcome is for you. It's
Yes.
for you and your relationship.
Yeah.
So I can stand with you in that. I understand. I really do.
And
I
if
won't
I'm
take.
not willing to stand for myself, I can't stand with you.
Right. Exactly.
I can't.
Exactly that.
I might look like I'm standing with you, but yeah, I can't truly be there in all my honesty and all my divinity as much as I can be with you if I'm unwilling to do it for myself.
Mhm.
and with God. And I've always looked at, when I, think about Jesus and how he performed miracles, he always went into this, the Father and I are one.
Always.
He went up into consciousness.
Always.
He looked up and he was invoking that and bringing that
Yes.
forward. And I
Yes.
believe that's what I'm being asked to do now.
Yes.
It's always been there. You've always had it.
Yes.
It applies here too.
Yes. Yes.
When you were
That
talking
was,
before, I was thinking of that exact thing when you were going like, are you sure? Are you sure? Because that's exactly what Jesus did, in the whatever, at least the mythology that's come down to us is like, okay, I hear what you're saying.
I hear you.
Sure.
Does this really need to happen?
It doesn't really sound like something I want to do. And if you're really sure, then I'm in it.
I'm there.
Yes.
But really? Do we really need to be here? Yes. Yeah. Can you take this cup from me? Is it possible? Because I don't want to be here.
We can get a smaller cup. I'm gonna check this one out. Yeah. How about a saucer? I don't need a cup that big. And and I really think, really, what's your okay? And that's why I needed these 3 times to go back and here it is. Whew,
yes.
Okay. Yep.
Yes.
And the third time, undeniably, I'm in it and thinking, it's just all over me.
Yeah.
That what the world is asking me to do, I have to say no to.
Yes.
And that God is going to be with me in the way that I am being asked to go further in this journey and to be in it this way. And it does feel, now that I've stopped saying, really? And now I'm saying, oh, wow. So how do so my walk with God now also is about helping myself get in tune with what I'm being asked, what I'm being called to be and do. And how do I affirm that for myself so that when I get uncomfortable, what do I say out loud to myself so I can be in alignment with what I believe I'm being called to be? True. And so it may be that now I fall to things like I'm an infinitely powerful spiritual being and I have the power to X. Mm-hmm. Yes. And that the force of the universe is behind me. Mm-hmm. The same force that created the heavens and the earth is the same force that I am stepping forward with now in this, and I have nothing to fear. Yeah. Yes. Just surrender in this.
That's that part. Yeah, that part. The thing is, one of the things is, it's a lot of things, but one of the things is that yes, while we are aligned with spirit, we're speaking with spirit, we invoke spirit, we know that we are individualized expressions and all that, we still have a humanness to contend with, that is fearful, that wants to know how this is going to work out before we step. And that's not how it works. You step and then it works out. And so you have to trust that. Mm-hmm. So, so I guess what I'm saying is that as I'm walking and I'm understanding more, I feel the love of God and I feel no judgment on me that I can't get. I'm still human. Mm-hmm. That I didn't get it right the first time. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's okay. There's no guys like, come on, baby, stand up, get up. What
such a thing as you didn't get it right the first time. It's
true.
that you did it one way the first time and you learned what you needed to learn so that you could get it this time.
Very good. Very well said. Very well said. Exactly. Yeah. There isn't any wrong. You're right. There isn't. It feels that way. That's the human side that wants to, that wants to name and label things. But the fact is that we're never alone. And the more that we decide that we want this relationship, the more we hear, because the hearing is there. We just are not listening. And so the more we listen and the more we do, and there's always more to do. There's always greater, because again, the evolution of our souls and our minds and our understanding. It keeps evolving. Yeah. It keeps evolving. Yeah. I mean, Jesus couldn't have ascended from the first day he came. Couldn't have ascended. There was a lot that he needed to do and learn and understand before that happened.
Yeah. I tell my congregation all the time when I'm talking about whatever spiritual principle, like, I have not mastered this. When I do, I won't be here. I will have ascended.
You will not see me.
So the fact that you see me standing in front of you means I am not doing this perfectly. but I'm in it. I'm in it. I'm walking
Yes,
it.
I'm in it.
Yeah.
I'm in it. And I get that. I get that. I'm doing that and I'm all right with it. I'm confidently expecting great things to come out of it.
Mm.
But in the moment, right now, you know,
And maybe not
being
great
human.
things
Yeah.
in the way the world sees, you know?
Correct.
I think it's
Correct.
really it's important to me always to remember that what the world is going to say is a great thing isn't necessarily the greatest thing. And
Yeah.
sometimes the best way to grow is just to deepen exactly where I am.
Yeah.
You know, I
I
need to
agree.
get bigger on the
Out
surface
there.
way.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's
Yeah.
just rooting a little deeper right where I am.
Yeah.
Want to take another break?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think it's
yeah.
time. So yeah, good discussion, ladies. Can't wait to talk some more
Yeah.
with the quiet one. We're back.
And I was since I had those, my 3 encounters with truth. Now, since I have finally said yes, okay, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'll walk this way. All this affirmation is just coming out of the woodwork. So I've had conversations with people I've never had deep conversations with, where people have shared stories where they have made decisions that were not rational on paper, but that they were following this internal guidance. And some of them have talked about God, some of them just called it intuition, didn't matter what. But I've had story after story coming up just impromptu, but in the right situations with the right people. And that's when I've looked up and I've just had this flush and I go, oh, you did hear me when I said I needed you with me. And
Yeah.
so God is showing up through these other people saying,
Yes.
stay with me on this. Stay with me on this. We're right here. I haven't left you. I'm not going to leave you. And yes, you're making the right decision. Yes, this is true and right for you right now. And it's all good.
Mhm.
And so I've had these moments where just the goosebumps come up and I go, oh God, you heard me. You heard me.
You heard me.
I'm good. I'm good. I really am good. And it's a nice place to be, even though I still don't know what it's gonna look like. But I know what I'm saying yes to, and I know I'm already being blessed in it.
Exactly.
It's just an incredible journey. So I think when we really take a walk with God seriously and earnestly and have a covenant in some kind of way, where my covenant is that I will always listen and I will endeavor always to say yes
Yes.
when you call me forward. And I might be uncomfortable and I might say, really? Yeah, a few times. Or maybe it's your signal got messed up and you're supposed to be talking to my neighbor or a woman driving down the street, your antennas are kind of crooked. I don't
Yeah.
know. But if you would check unplug your system, plug it back in, maybe you need a reboot, God. I don't know. But
I'm not
I'm
clear.
gonna
You
check
meant to
back
say
with
that to
you.
me.
Off
Yeah.
and turn it on again. See if it works. Yeah.
See
Yeah,
if you
let me
still
see if
expected me to be there.
answer. And invariably, you're back with that same answer.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, guess you were right
Yeah.
the first time, God. I don't know.
Right.
Hmm.
Yes.
You know, though, that there is a power, and I don't know if the number 3 is a magic number, but there are so many times in my life when I've heard something and I've thought,
Yeah.
yeah, or just not thought anything at all. And then within a week, I hear from a completely different source, like, what?
Yeah.
I'd
Right.
never heard of that at all. And
And
as
now,
week, and now I've heard of it twice.
right?
Mhm.
Right.
And then the third time I'm like, okay,
Okay.
okay.
All right. Got it.
I'm listening.
Heard
Got
you.
Yeah, heard you. Got it.
And here's God. He's like, yeah, you heard me, but you ain't doing nothing.
Yes.
I want to keep telling you. You're hearing me, but you ain't doing it.
You ain't said yes yet.
Or maybe God's up there going,
So-
okay, Melinda, I know you need 3 times. So I'm going to give you 3 times because
Okay.
you like 3. I'm just going to,
3 is a
that's
good
what-
number for you.
Knock,
Yeah.
knock, knock. Takes 3 times.
Yes.
Is it a Beatles song, not 3 times?
That's somebody's song.
Somebody's song.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I heard you. I heard you. You can stop sending messages now.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
I got it.
mhm.
And here's the thing. It's one of the you talked about, Kim, the rituals and things like that, and all the I don't know, I haven't been to all this religious places, but certainly in my background there was a lot of rituals. The whole altar call was such a sacred thing.
Mhm.
Just everybody. I mean, it was so moving, and I just loved it. That was a wonderful thing. And then there was a whole call to prayer, and so you have this minister or this deacon or whatever just doing this beautiful. And I think his whole point was to make you cry because it's just so beautiful and things like that. And so there were those rituals that I loved to be around, but then there was so much more of the time. Let's say if we spent an hour there, it's like I 5 or 10 minutes of that, and the rest of it made no sense to me. It didn't. And it was like mutually, like they were saying things that seemed to be mutually exclusive. Didn't seem to be the God that I understood. And so, like, I don't understand what's happening here. So part of the thing for me, the meditation, was to be able to go into the silence, was to be able to hear without all of that noise around me and all of what was supposed to happen, and actually hear a word from something that made sense to me, that felt like it did. I guess the thing that I heard was, just a lot of times I heard throughout my growing up was you pray in silence, like you don't pray in front of people, because it's a private thing, and you pray, just straight to God. Well, certainly the church needs that for you to be for us to be praying in a group, but for me to hear it where it really touched me was in the privacy of it, the meditation of it. And so that, I think, was one of the reasons why. And I always heard spirit back when I was a little girl, when I was in trouble and I needed I always heard it in the quiet. I couldn't understand why I was hearing stuff, but I knew it was true. And I knew that everything was going to be all right. My heart was calmed by that. Even as a little person, I didn't understand what that was, but I knew my heart was calmed. And no matter what was going to happen, like it wasn't going to happen my way, whatever was going to happen, I was going to be all right. I knew that. I got that message all the time. So this is part of the desire to walk more fully with spirit. It's like we've always been walking, but this is about walking more fully and intentionally.
Yes.
Yeah,
because I wanted.
And marking the journey, like this is where I've come. This is where I am now. There's value in that.
Yes. There is.
Looking at taking a step back and looking at the journey.
Yes, because there's just little nuggets you pull from that. I go, okay, I knew that hasn't changed, so I can still know that. That's, you know what I mean. I knew that. I still know that.
How do you know it's true? If it's always been true, then it's true.
Then it's true.
Changes, if truth doesn't actually change. Our perception certainly changes.
Yes.
And the way we receive it can certainly change. Yes. And the language around it can change, but truth doesn't change. And so
that's one
of the values of looking back and going, well, it was true then, it's true now, it's going to be true tomorrow.
It's going to be true later.
I can trust that.
Exactly. Yeah. I can lean and depend on that.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of times for me, the process of getting in alignment with what I believe Spirit's calling me to do is doing exactly that, going back and naming the things that where that was true, and that absolutely not only did it work out, but it worked out beautifully.
Yes.
Beautifully in ways that I could not have imagined, and I know I could not have made myself. I could not have orchestrated this way. And so I'll go through and I'll name those things, and then I'll say, it's always worked. Why wouldn't it work now?
Yeah, exactly.
Why would it fail now? And each time I felt the same way I do now, where I thought, oh, this might be too big. This might be too big, or this is the
Right.
exception. And then,
Yes.
and then I said, yes, I trust. And it worked out beautifully.
Yes.
And then the next thing came up, because you're never then asked to do less than you were the last time.
Never.
It's always
Yes.
stretching us, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
And so when I'm in the stretch, I think, okay,
I
I'm
like
being
that,
asked
in
to
the
go
stretch.
5 yards now, but it worked at 3 yards.
Yes.
Why
Yes.
would it work for 2 more?
Yes.
And is this not the God that is all there is and created all things? And then I get to, this is my other new mantra now, is that everything that is God is greater than everything in this manifest world, more powerful than.
That's true.
I don't have to worry about the manifest world.
Yeah. No, it does. You do not.
There's nothing
You
here
absolutely do not.
in this physical
Yeah.
world that's greater than God.
Yeah. But it's
And
all
sometimes
manifested
I have
help
to
God.
say that out loud
Yes.
so that
Yeah.
this calms down.
Oh, I like that.
And that's the walk for me, to be in that, and to, sometimes I have to do some critical thinking, a process. I want to be in alignment. How do I get there?
Mhm.
And then I bring back in those rituals. So I think now how I do rituals is I always want to create sacred space. I love every room of my house.
Mm.
And I can sit there and feel at peace. And when I have gatherings, I create sacred space. When I had women's groups here in my home, I had candles. I gave things out to people when they came in. They were free to take some things home to remind them of the experience. When congregants come to me and say, can I have some time with you? I'll sit 2 chairs in the sanctuary. I'll light candles. I may have music playing when they come in. Because if this is a special time, they're trusting
It is.
with their hearts and with their lives, and it's no small thing. And so I want there to be something, I want to have the sacredness be extrasensory
Mhm. Mhm.
as well, so that they feel enveloped by something.
Yes.
We're having an experience together. We're not just exchanging words.
Right.
This is a God experience here. And I'm bringing my God self to you.
Yes.
As congregants, I'm always looking for ways to do that. And simply by lighting a candle. I have my mother's bell collection. I often walk by and just ring them because I want to hear the bells. And I'm
Nice.
collecting some of my own here and there when I felt one that called to me and I said, oh, that's kind of special and different. And I'll bring that. And all of her bells I had hanging from somewhere in the house, so I could walk by and tap it and hear it, rather than leaving them in a box and not hearing it.
Yes.
So
Nice.
it just becomes real for me. And sitting out and listening to the birds, the wind in the trees.
What's really beautiful is that it's not that these things are necessary. It's not that you have to light a candle or you can't pray, or there needs to be
Right.
incense, or there needs to be the glass needs to be stained. And yet, when you make the effort to create a ritual, to do that, to mark it in that way, then it can become a shortcut to creating. Is like, okay, yes, I know I'm on holy ground, but when I light this candle and the smell of that sandalwood hits me, or whatever the fragrance is, or whatever, that then I can go, oh, I'm there. In the same way that, you can put on a record and be back in high school,
Yes.
hear something and it puts you right there.
Yeah.
There's something really beautiful to creating ritual around what we do in sacred space that can be kind of a shortcut into sacred space.
Absolutely.
So now I can think of a candle, but not actually have a candle.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm in that space. Yes.
Think of
Nice.
the candle and I can smell the sandalwood.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the walk, and the purpose of a walk is 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other. And I think that's what this experience with spirit is in this lifetime. If you're willing to do it, is to, come with me, walk with me,
I love it.
or carry me, or
Yeah.
Or get dragged.
Yeah. I'm only taking you where you said you wanted to go, girlfriend. That's
right.
That's
Are you sure
That's
you
what it
heard
looked
me
like.
ask that question? Then I'm asking him, really? Is that what you,
Really?
did I say that out loud? Because, yeah.
Not sure that's what I meant. Is that what you heard?
That's what I heard. It's what you. It may not be what you said, but it's what you meant. So I heard what you meant.
Exactly.
I heard what you meant.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Ah, we have the 5-minute warning from our producer.
Yeah.
So time to wrap it up. How do you put a bow on that?
How do you put a bow on that? I always just invite people in, try saying yes a few times to spirit, especially in those moments where you think this couldn't possibly be the friggin' answer.
It can't be.
Can't be. Can't be. But I think it's in those moments that the magic really happens.
Yeah.
That, we just, metaphorically, we get our hair blown back in a moment with spirit, and you go, wow, it worked again. It worked
again.
It worked at something I thought was impossible, that the world tells me is impossible, and spirit shows up in a way, and it's just, wow. All right.
Mind blowing, for sure.
Right. And so, I know now when I'm really resisting, that's usually when I'm being called to say yes to something. When I don't want to get quiet, I know there's a reason being the quiet.
Yes.
When I needed those 3 times going back, I knew I knew I was going to get to yes, and I'm like, and it said, okay, you need another convincing. Wait, I got that. And okay. All right, if you're not quite there.
All right.
But yes, I think you're right, Pjae, that spirit does know. I do believe that spirit knows what's in our hearts, and it knows the things that we may have forgotten, dreams that we've let go of, dreams like maybe you had as little girls, things that were in our minds that we're no longer acquainted with. All of that is in the ethers, or whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
And so I find sometimes that when my prayers are answered, it's about so much more than what's happening right now. And I'll think, oh my gosh, I had that dream decades ago and forgot about it. And here it is.
I lean and depend on that. I lean and depend on that spirit is going to remind me of who I am and what's possible. That's my peace and my anchor in this world. It's to know that spirit remembers and it's going to remind me. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Going through the coming to a whole different place in my life, one that's not what I had anticipated or what I had thought was going to happen. I was reminded of a number of things that I had let go in that life, not understanding that I could have had both. Thinking that as a human being you could only have one thing or another, and so the focus was always and willing so quickly willing to give myself away. It was in service to some other ideal, some other goal. And the fact is that I don't think spirit calls us to ask us to do any of that. Any of that, one or the other. It's this and more, always. And so that's for me to continue to remember and uncover. That speaks back to what you're talking about, Kim. The things who I am and what I've let go of, and I'm just reminded all the time from spirit. No, this is you. You can do this. This is who you've always been. This is something you just put on the shelf. It hasn't gone away. It's still here and available. It's still available. So again, more of the walk, more of the reason for the walk.
Yeah.
And the trust, just and it comes to a point of, it's not about, do I trust this? It's that, can I possibly trust any other way?
Yeah.
How possibly, I don't know how to do it any other way.
Any other way. This is the way.
Probably would have done it another way if I knew how to do it another way.
Yes.
But,
yes. This is the way.
This is the only way. This is the only way. And I can say, I don't like this way. And then I go, okay, well, what would you rather do? Oh, well, there really isn't anything. So,
I guess this is the way.
This is the way.
All right.
All right.
I guess I'm being called 30 seconds.
So reach out to us. We're here at
Yes.
realtalksisters.org, or is it com?
I think so.
Um,
.com. Wait, that's the Gmail.
And you can reach
It's
out
.com,
to
yeah.
gmail.com. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, that's the .com.
thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kim. Wonderful,
Kim.
wonderful.
Thank you,
Thanks
Quiet.
for leading that. Beautiful. All right.
Quiet one.
Love you all.
Love you all.